Hello students, so we are going to learn a new concept in quantum mechanics, and I regret for the delay in the publishing of the video. So the most important topic, that is an integral part of every branch of physics, is the simple harmonic oscillator. And in quantum mechanics, the mathematical analysis of this particular topic is considered to be difficult. Although I am not discouraging you. It is not difficult if you understand the things properly, because most of the times students say that some difficult mathematical terms are emerging out and they have to memorize the derivation. But I will try my best to present the topic in a way that you need not remember it or memorize it. So let us start our discussion about quantum mechanical analysis of simple harmonic oscillator. So simple harmonic motion is known to all of you. You have studied this thing in mechanics starting from class 12 in BSc. The simple harmonic oscillator or the harmonic oscillator, it is an integral part of every branch of physics, I said, because many of the physical phenomena are described using this as a model. How they are described, I will tell you in a brief manner. So the basic equation of motion of a harmonic oscillator is the Hooke's law. The first thing that we need to know that the harmonic oscillator, it is a simple system where we consider there is a block of mass m attached to a spring constant k. The conditions are frictionless, and if the block is displaced from its mean position, then it undergoes simple harmonic motion. Simple harmonic motion, you all know what is simple harmonic motion, so I am not describing the simple harmonic motion here. Now the question is why this simple harmonic oscillator or harmonic oscillator is so significant, or it is so important that it needs to be discussed. In your basic mechanics, you must have studied a topic called the elasticity, and in that topic it is explained that in case of a solid, the atoms inside, they are attached to each other by spring-like forces, and when there is a deforming force and the atoms are displaced from their position, a restoring force acts to bring them back to their original position. So the system is similar to a spring mass system. There are many springs. The question is there are many springs and there are many particles. So basically the things are similar to a spring mass system. This restoring force tends to bring back the atoms to their original position, and this is the elasticity. In many other physical systems, like in thermodynamics, in vibrational motion of the atoms, which you study in spectroscopy, the things are similar. In vibrational spectrum, in spectroscopy, there is a vibrational motion of the system of the atoms about their mean position. In classical mechanics, you study a topic called coupled oscillators. Coupled oscillators. So they are describing a large variety of physical phenomena. For example, in electrostatics, I always try to keep the things very simple. In electrostatics, you must have solved problems where a charge particle is near another charge particle and they are bounded by the electrostatic force. And when the charge particle is displaced from its position, then it executes SHM. The restoring force here is of course the electrostatic force, and the motion is a harmonic oscillator motion or simple harmonic oscillation, and it describes many of the physical phenomena. The vibration or the oscillation of the charged particle, it gives rise to electromagnetic spectrum. So again there is oscillation. So this harmonic oscillation is very important in studying many physical properties. There are thermal properties also that are explained on the basis of the harmonic oscillator theory. So this harmonic oscillator is basically a model to describe many physical phenomena. This is a model. So its description or its analysis in harmonic quantum mechanical theory becomes essential. There are many physical quantities that will emerge in the quantum mechanical analysis. Now let us start the quantum mechanical analysis of simple harmonic oscillator. The basic equation of motion is the Hooke's law that we all know. That force is proportional to the displacement from the mean position, and the proportionality constant is the spring constant. And this is the equation of motion, equation number 1. Now if you solve this differential equation, what you get? You get a solution of the form a sin omega t plus b cos omega t. So this is essentially a oscillatory function because there are sine and cosine periodic functions. Omega is the frequency, k by m, spring inertia by mass inertia. This is the general form of the frequency term in the simple harmonic oscillator. Now what we are interested in, this analysis, whatever I have told you in this section, from 1 to 2, you have studied these things in classical mechanics. You have solved problems on simple harmonic motion. Now when we are in quantum mechanics, in the region of quantum mechanics, what we have to do is to solve the time independent Schrodinger equation for a given potential. This is the main thing that we have to do in the quantum mechanical analysis. Now how to proceed for the quantum mechanical analysis? So whenever you are using the time independent Schrodinger equation, there is a potential, and that potential describes the system. For example, we have studied in the previous lectures the infinite square wave, the free particle, the bounded potential. Here the potential is Vx half kx square. This is also a simple equation and you know this. Now what happens? That if you plot potential energy as a function of x, it will be a parabola. Mathematically it will be a parabola because there is a x square variation. You know from mathematics, basic mathematics, that quadratic variation gives parabolic diagram, parabolic mapping. Now the most important concept about this potential energy is that this potential energy is varying like this. This is Vx on the y-axis, and on the x-axis you have x. So this potential is varying like this. This is the region where the parabolic approximation works. This is the region. And if you draw this, this dotted diagram shows the parabolic representation. So this parabolic representation is about this point where the potential energy is minimum, and this potential energy is minimum at the mean point or at the equilibrium position. So around the equilibrium position you get this approximation that the potential energy has a parabolic nature. If you are moving away from the mean position, this parabolic approximation or this parabolic variation will not hold at large distances from the x0, from the mean position. Now what is the explanation for this? The explanation for this is that you know very well that for simple harmonic motion the amplitude must be small. The amplitude, the displacement from the mean position, it must be a small displacement, then only this thing holds. As you go further, if you are stretching the block attached to the spring to large distances from the mean position, at one point it may happen that the spring breaks. At that point the spring will break. So from larger distances from the mean position, this parabolic approximation v is equal to half kx square is not going to hold. So what we have here, we have a function like v potential which is a function of x, half kx square. V will change with x. And this is defined about a point x0 which is the mean position. Now in this case, in these types of situations, you have handled these situations in many cases before, that when we have a function about a position, about a particular point, then to observe that variation, what we do the Taylor's expansion. Taylor's expansion I have discussed in some of the lectures. If you are doing the Taylor expansion, these are the terms that appear. This is the value at x0. This is the value at x minus x0. You are displacing from the mean position. This is the second derivative and x minus x0 square, and there are higher order terms. Now the potential energy, as I told you in the diagram above, that it is minimum or the least at the mean position, and you can understand this by considering the simple harmonic motion of a pendulum. At the extreme, at the mean position, all the energy is kinetic energy. So the potential energy is minimum at the mean position. So in this case, we can neglect the higher order terms and we can express the half kx square form by the expansion of the potential up to the second term. Now where does this thing come from? It may be confusing to you. Where does this thing come from? Vx is equal to half kx square, and if you are differentiating Vx with respect to x, d2v upon dx square, it is equal to k. So it is the spring constant. Now as long as the amplitude of oscillation is small, the displacement of the mass from the mean position, means x minus x0, is small, the motion is SHM. And this is well known that for SHM the amplitude of oscillation must be small. So this is the variation of the potential. We have analyzed the potential because we have to use it in the Schrödinger equation. Now the quantum mechanical version is to solve the, I have skipped this thing, time independent Schrödinger equation with a potential half m omega square x square. This form of potential is easily obtainable. Half kx square in place of k, you can put this equation, root under k by m. So it will give the same result. Now we use the time independent form of Schrödinger equation and we put this potential here. Now this equation has to be solved, and the solution of this equation is obtained in two forms. The first one is the algebraic method that I will discuss here. The next one is a different analytical method that I will discuss in the next lecture. So the Schrödinger equation, now you have some mathematical gaming, mathematical tricks, but there are reasoning, physical reason for using these mathematical tricks. Now the equation number 4, this is the time independent Schrödinger equation. It can be written in this form. Now you may ask, this is the point where confusion occurs. The student has to memorize these steps that I have to write the Schrödinger equation in this form. How this form is appearing and what is the need? Now this equation, the time independent Schrödinger equation, has been written in this form with a clear intention. What is the intention? The intention is that we have to incorporate the momentum p and position. These are operators. I have told you in the previous lectures. The intention is to incorporate the operator forms of position and momentum. Now you will ask why? The reason is this quantity within the brackets, it has to be factorized, and this one is nothing but the sum of kinetic and potential energies, which you call the Hamiltonian. So what we have, the quantum mechanical equation, the Schrodinger equation in Hamiltonian operator form is h psi is equal to h psi. Now this quantity, we have to factor this, we have to break this. Why we have to break this? What is the reason for breaking this equation? It is not that all of a sudden some idea is appearing to you that I have to break this. What we have to do, we have to relate the position and momentum operators. We need an expression where we have quantities like this px or xp. The reason I will tell you. So we have to relate p and x, momentum and space coordinates, or momentum or space operators. And this relation is a fundamental relation of quantum mechanics, a fundamental formalism. Now what you see, this is a sum of square of two quantities, a square plus b square. Now if you have a square plus b square, you can write it as a product of two complex numbers, or one complex number and its conjugate. This is one complex number and its conjugate is this. And the product is the sum of the squares of two real numbers. Now what is the reason for doing this? Because we know that P is minus IH bar d upon dx. I have told you in the previous lectures what is the relation between momentum and space. Isotropy of space relates to the results in the conservation of momentum. So momentum is related to space. Now let us change the order of the quantities in the equation number 8 in the left hand side. Why we are doing this? Because we have p square plus m omega x square. P is minus IH bar d upon dx. So what we are trying to do is to write A is minus IH bar d upon dx plus m omega x, and B is, and this quantity B will be plus IH bar d upon dx m plus m omega x. That is why we are changing the order. If you don't change the order, it is not going to affect this. But if you are changing the order, it becomes easy to understand. So I have written it in this way. Minus IB, because I have written because P is this quantity. I have to put P, I have to incorporate or inject P in this equation. The result will be same because these are real quantities. So what we are doing, our objective is to factorize this Hamiltonian. So this quantity is minus Ip plus m omega x, and this one is Ip plus m omega x. So we have factorized these quantities. Now it is inconvenient to use these quantities, they are a bit longer. So we represent minus Ip plus m omega x as a plus, and plus Ip as a minus plus m omega x. So we have a combination of, now see, you have two quantities, momentum and position, in their operator form. Now the combination of these, or these two quantities in a single equation, they can be written like this. You have to remember a plus stands for minus Ip, a minus stands for plus Ip, the complex conjugate. So we have defined to a quantity a plus minus. Now still you must have this question in mind, that why we are doing all this. Let me tell you. Here comes the most important concept of commutators. I will discuss this thing in detail with examples, but I am using the basic concept here. When we have two operators like momentum and space, then the order of their operation on a particular function is very important. I am telling you the physical reason. The order of operation is very important. Suppose we have a function x, then the order in which we apply the operators x and p, it is important because the order of operation of x and p on f, they produce different results. Suppose you apply p on x on this function f first and then you apply x. The first step, apply p on f, then x, and the second step is apply x on p, then x on f, then p. The results are not equal. They produce different results. Now let us see an example. If you have a simple function x square, then xp means you keep x here, you apply the momentum operator on x square. Momentum operator is simply differentiation. So what it yields? Minus ih bar 2x. Now you do the next step, you do px, I am writing here, px, this is xp, this is px. You apply first x on x square and then you apply the momentum, minus ih bar d upon dx. The results are different. If you subtract these, the result will be ih bar x square is fx. So xp minus px gives ih bar. This is nothing but uncertainty relation. Try to relate with the uncertainty relation that we have in the uncertainty relation del x del p is greater than or equal to h bar by p. So the general rule of commutative property, remember you have studied in mathematics. Commutative property, AB is not equal to BA. AB is equal to BA, that is called commutative property. So the commutation in the square brackets, this is the commutation relation of two operators. Commutation of position and momentum, it gives ih bar. If you put px, then it will be minus ih bar. It is not equal to 0. So space and momentum operators do not commute. What is the physical meaning? Now when you are applying operator, you are doing a certain kind of measurement and that measurement will lead to a particular result or eigenvalue. When you are changing the way of or changing the order of the operators, or when you are changing the order of the measurements, you are measuring position first, then you are measuring momentum, and in the next step you are measuring momentum first and then you are measuring position. The results will be different. And this is called canonical commutation relation. Now why did I describe this thing here? What is the reason? The reason is that we have defined two quantities in the previous section. Now let us have a product of these two, a minus and a plus, and it is quite easy to evaluate. I don't think it will be very difficult. When you will evaluate this, you will get this quantity, which is nothing but the Hamiltonian, and then you have a quantity, this quantity xp minus px. To find out or to replace this quantity, we have used the commutation relation. xp minus px is ih bar. Because this quantity has appeared in the product a minus a plus, I have discussed the commutation relation. This is the objective, this is the purpose of this commutation relation. Now with this result, you can simply write a minus a plus product as 1 by 2 h bar m omega. Then you have in the brackets P square plus m omega, sorry, it is not square, m omega square x square, sorry, it is square, m square omega square x square, and then minus I upon 2h bar, the commutation relation of x and p. You can replace this quantity by the commutation relation that I have told. This is the purpose of discussing the commutation relation. So whenever you are using operators, you have to be very careful about the order in which they are applied on a function. Now using the commutation relation, this equation becomes more simple and it becomes a minus a plus. You can write it in the form of Hamiltonian as h by h bar omega plus 1 by 2. This equation, because p square plus m square omega square x square is nothing but the Hamiltonian, you divide by h bar omega, it is 1 by 2 plus 1 by 2. You have a number on the right hand side. So now the equation for Hamiltonian in terms of a and a plus is h is equal to, it will be h bar omega a minus a plus, sorry, a minus a plus minus 1 by 2. This is the equation for Hamiltonian that we have to use in the harmonic oscillator. This approach, this Hamiltonian, this form of Hamiltonian makes the work much easier. But still there is a problem. What is the problem? The Hamiltonian has not been factorized perfectly. There is a term minus 1 by 2 on the right and it is a significant term. It is a significant term. Here you have, what you have done, you have evaluated, you have put a minus before then a plus. You can, for yourself, it is a practice, you can calculate a plus a minus in the same manner. And there will be another task, and if you find some difficulty you can tell me in the comment section. The commutation of a minus a plus leads to 1. You can check the relation. You first multiply a minus a plus and then a plus a minus and subtract the 2. You will get 1. This is simple addition and subtraction. It is not very difficult. So the Hamiltonian can be written either in this form or it can be written either in this form. A plus a minus plus 1 by 2. This 1 by 2 is always there. It cannot be removed and this has a significant role. So now what is our Schrodinger equation? The main thing is this. What is our Schrodinger equation in terms of a plus and a minus? Schrodinger equation. Schrodinger equation in terms of the Hamiltonian defined above, Hamiltonian defined above will be the Schrodinger equation. This Schrodinger equation will be h bar omega a plus a minus a plus 1 by 2 plus minus 1 by 2 plus minus 1 by 2 psi equal to E psi. This is equation number perhaps 10. You can check the number of the equation. So this is our Schrodinger equation in terms of a plus and a minus. And this is the equation that we have to work with. what are these A plus and A minus? Whatever we have done till now, it is simple mathematics. It is simple mathematics. What is the physical significance of A plus and A minus? The physical significance is that, I will tell you the mathematical proof also, or it is very easy. If psi satisfies the Schrodinger equation, psi, the eigenfunction, satisfies the Schrodinger equation, with energy E, then this is a theorem. You can prove this theorem, or I will tell you. Then A plus psi satisfies the Schrodinger equation, with T. The energy will be different, with energy E plus h bar omega. Similarly, if you have A minus, it will be E minus h bar omega. So, when you apply the Hamiltonian operator on A plus into psi, what you get is E plus h bar omega plus, into A plus. So the energy is increasing. A plus, applying A plus is increasing the energy by one step. If you again apply A plus, it will again rise one step. So this A plus and A minus, mostly I will tell about A plus, they are like steps on a ladder, steps on a staircase, that each time you apply this A plus, the energy is increasing by 1 unit. So they are called ladder operators. Each application plus increases the energy by one step. So it is like a ladder. I am showing you the diagram. In ladder or in a staircase, you rise step by step. You are not, it is not just you are jumping, you are moving from one step to another. So this is the ladder. Each time you are applying A plus, you are on a higher energy, E plus h bar omega. Then again you are applying A plus, you are on E plus again h bar omega. So each step is taking you to a higher energy state. So it is like a ladder. So A plus minus are called ladder operators. So this is the most important part, this is the most important significance of these operators, physical significance. They are not only mathematical quantities, they have some physical meaning, and this is the physical meaning. So in the next lecture, we will discuss more about these ladder operators and the second method to analyze the simple harmonic oscillator or harmonic oscillator in quantum mechanical terms. For the time being, please stay tuned, watch the videos, like, comment and share. And if you have some queries, then please tell me in the comment. Thank you.